we've seen a lot of groups here. We see getting started in the game. We actually have a difference in compositions. A Shine is going to be playing that Moonkin. That's a very standard choice in Spires we've seen so far this weekend. Does have that Soothe. Echo is saying, you know what? We don't need it. We will take the more damage, thank you very much. And we are playing this Windwalker instead on Frag there. Frag Crobat is his beautiful monk name there.
Yeah, so very interesting. I have been wondering why so many teams have been playing this Moonkin, and we casters did figure that it was mainly for utility and for the single target burst that Moonkin does provide, because this dungeon is now Tyrannical, right? And of course the Soothe because of the raging effect. Now this means that Echo does not actually have an Enrage Dispel, so that's something they have to watch out for, of course, specifically if they're going to be doing that Angel pull at the very end. But one thing to notice, if you do the triple Angel pull, then the Soothe is not actually as important compared to if you're splitting the pool. Because if you split the pool, then the third Angel actually has all of the effects at the same time, and then removing the Enrage is really important. On the triple Angel pool, it's not as important in my opinion, because they don't actually have the abilities of the other Angels just yet, right? So we'll see what Echo is going to be doing later. We do know that Perplexed is not pulling the 3 Angels all at once though, because we've already seen Perplexed show us this dungeon yesterday, unless they changed up their strategy from yesterday to today.
Yeah, this is something that teams can do, is update their strategy over the course of the weekend, but it is a costly decision, and it means that you're foregoing some practice time that you could spend just honing your strats, practicing things that went wrong for you the day before. And it means that, I mean, you can only really do it for like 1 or 2 dungeons, so it would mean that they don't have something like that planned for other dungeons. I suspect we will see the same game plan out of Perplexed as we've seen so far this weekend in this key, as they are already pulling this Pride at like 70% health into the first boss. This is a extremely bold strategy, but they're relying on this Ashen Hallow that you can see on the ground right now from Ryson to do all of their damage and all of their healing for the next 30 seconds. Look at those meters.
Yeah, so Perplex pulling the Pride onto the boss immediately, while Echo chooses to almost completely finish that Pride. It's still on 10% at this point, has high stacks, did get Touch of Death by Fragments here on that Windwalker, and now the Ashen is being popped. So the difference here in strategy is that Perplex is gaining time because they can cleave onto the boss while finishing off the Pride, but they have to commit a lot of cooldowns before they're receiving the Pride buff. While Echo, on the other hand, look how fast they're nuking this boss. They already caught up on damage because they had saved all of their offensive cooldowns to be used after the Pride is dead, so it's getting amplified by that Pride buff.
Also, one benefit of doing it Echo's way is that they got their Lust, their Ashen, their Pride while the 2 bosses were stacked on top of each other. Whereas Perplexed, a lot of this Prideful buff was spent with those bosses, you know, one of them airborne and one of them on the ground, harder to cleave between the 2 of them. So definitely something that it looks like Echo has the better of this, because they pulled this boss a lot later than Perplexed, but they have killed it a lot earlier. And you can see right now they already are getting started here with this very next pull. Mira's getting in position there, while now is running around with Bop on him to prevent those cats from stunning him out of stealth, and then canceling it and getting started with the pull once everybody else is on those threat tables as well. You do have to be careful if you ever see your tank with Bop there to make sure you do not get in combat with those mobs, otherwise they will run at you instead of the tank until that thing is canceled.
Yeah, so this is actually a really important pull. We've seen lots of teams lose quite a lot of time here because the tank wasn't able to kite it within that flame patch. But you see the Ring of Peace coming out of Fragments here for Echo, and it's actually really helpful for these kind of pulls. Ring of Peace is actually one of the almost best utilities that you can even have in these MDI dungeons, because it helps the tank out so much and it helps to keep everything grouped within the AoE. So that's why Echo managed to finish this off so quickly. Perplex still doing also a really good job. They also have the Moonkin utility, so you have the Vortex and you have the Typhoon, which also really helps to keep everything stacked up.
Yeah, it's hard to say actually which is a better, you know, kit for keeping things controlled than the Ring of Peace versus the Moonkin utility. They are definitely 2 of the very best specs in the game for managing that kind of pull. So a masterclass from both teams on how exactly to execute something like that. And I think there were probably 0 flame patch ticks missed between both teams there. However, Echo, by virtue of killing that boss a little bit faster, I think also by virtue of focusing down the Dark Praetor so it didn't charge out of the pack ever, have been able to get a little bit more time here. And you can see already they will be reaching that 45% trash mark. They have that Pride now spawning, the 40% Pride, which they're going to kill. We've seen some teams find a way to skip this Pride. If you kill both of the Goliaths right around the same time, you can potentially use the Invis pots to skip this Pride, but it looks like Echo is not going to bother with that. One thing that they've also done is they've picked up that Kyrian Spear that was on the ground, and so we'll see how they plan to use that, how exactly big they think they can go in this next area, because this is something that it can be a little bit of an equalizer the next couple pulls. There's a little bit of a patrol that you sometimes have to wait for, so if both teams find themselves waiting for the same sequence in the patrol, and you know what, Perplexed actually, they have executed that Pride skip, so this is going to be a huge comparison. Which of these strats is going to be faster?
Yeah, we do see them gather up this huge pool here now where they're going to be using that Kyrian Spear, the Patrol plus that initial pack. Wolf dropping really low as he did manage to get that Kyrian Spear and a Full Moon being procced as well by a Shine. One of the Inquisitors was not in but did now get gripped by Divine Field, so they should be able to finish this off. But some of them still pretty high HP, so lots of interrupts still need to be done so they don't go down. They have a Soothe effect from that Druid. If, for example, the Inquisitor is a really nice target to soothe in case any of those Dark Clashes are going through. But Echo, on the other hand, executed this pull so much quicker because they had that Pride buff, right? So really interesting to see the differences in strategies here. Echo just finishing off the Pride by themselves and then just utilizing that Pride buff for those huge pulls, where Perplexed values skipping the Prides more or pulling them on top of other things and just using their offensive and defensive cooldowns to deal with packs without Pride. And it looks like they're both incredibly even, both of them now on this second boss platform.
I have to say, I think the Perplexed got the better of this Pride exchange. I think that skip ended up saving them some time because they were quite a bit behind before, and now they are getting started with this pull only a couple of seconds later than Echo. This is going to be such a close game, though. You can see crowd control effects out on a few of those mobs near the top of the stairs, and they are at 59% trash count here. So as soon as one thing dies here, once this Forsworn squad leader goes down, that will be the 60% Pride spawning. We will see what these teams elect to do with it because they do want to pull onto the boss as soon as possible. Probably what they're going to do is cleave this Pride down with these two trash mobs and then take those two that are currently crowd controlled onto the boss with the Pride buff and nuke everything down as quickly as they can. But this, I mean, that Praetor is not cooperating right now with Echo's plans. It has just charged over off the edge, and I don't think they'll be able to actually bring it back on from over there. Look at what it's doing. It's kind of right off the edge there. So, you know, I don't think that they're really going to be able to maneuver it like they'd like to. So you can see now has kind of had to move the Pride over next to it so they could cleave onto it. Whereas Perplexed have actually gained a little bit in terms of damage onto these mobs here. They've had a better job of keeping everything nice and tightly grouped up here. And Echo's still getting out of this faster, but Perplexed right behind them as Echo are now going right into the boss. They have all of these mobs coming in as well. They're going to want to keep them interrupted so that they can group them up into this big damage. But once they do, they will die very, very, very quickly to all of this Ashen Hallow and Windwalker incidental cleave.
Yeah, the Ashen being popped here by Zaelia. Ryzen already used it. I'm not actually completely sure if Ryzen already used this as well, but there's a huge amount of single target damage gonna come out from all of these classes here. Unfortunately, Ashen does not have the Celestial Alignment just ready yet. Okay, there we go. Now there's the Ashen being popped by Ryzen as well. And the CA is gonna be back up within the Pride window still. And that's the most important thing. As long as you get your cooldowns within that Pride buff, you're not gonna be losing any damage, so that's perfect for them as well. And you can see how quick we saw Ashen actually getting hit by one of those orbs. Did manage to survive though. Used a potion as well just to be sure that he's fine. But yeah, Venture's dropping quite a bit faster for Echo here.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting because it looks like there's just so much damage here coming out from both teams. Both the Moonkin and the Windwalker Monk are really putting up the numbers here. And of course, those Holy Pallies in first and second place on the meters. Wow, a lot of these orbs are being hit on the side of Perplex. They are barely living at this plus 20 Keystone level, but that is something they have to watch out for. They are going to be killing this boss 5 seconds slower than Echo, so this is still really anybody's game. There's so... Oh my god, another connection with the orb. Swag dropping to 4% after the boss is dead. A final parting gift comes out from that little orb there. They are all now taking this relaxing Kyrian Airlines flight to their final destination here, the last little part of the dungeon with 2 more bosses and a couple big trash pulls, a couple scary trash pulls still ahead of them.
Yeah, this initial pull here on this platform is going to be very crucial for both of the teams. We've seen almost all teams pull this triple pack together into a Kyrian spear and then AoEing it all down. The crucial part is going to be to be able to stack it all up, to be able to get the Kyrian spear on to all of them. We've seen one of the Chinese teams yesterday not being able to stack one of the Inquisitors on top, using the mind control to get them in, but then they were just missing the damage and they ended up having a full team wipe because of it. So let's see if Echo and Perplexed can execute this pull perfectly. We see the Mind Suit being used to be able to get into position first, and now everything is being stacked by them.
Yeah, this is such a crucial pull here. You can see the Ring of Peace knocking everything into that spear, and the spear comes down. All of the AoE damage cooldowns are going to come out. This does come with a damage amp as well, so it's a good idea if you can to land as much damage into this window as possible. And you can see Gingy spiking up there to 60k. Same thing happening with Wolf Disco on the side of Perplexed. There's the Pride spawning now for Echo. They still have 1 Goliath to take care of, but otherwise they are in the clear. They've taken care of all that trash. Meanwhile, on the side of Perplexed, a couple of mobs still left alive here. This is the scariest point because they all have that raging buff, but they are now also taken care of. That is the 80% Pride spawning for Perplexed as well, and they are still just a couple of seconds behind there. You can see a world marker actually coming out from Perplexed right now on where one of those weapons has been purged. Divine, the only melee player on that team, is going to be the person to pick that up, and another one drops there. Bryson is actually going to pick it up and start using it to deal a little bit more damage with those auto attacks. That's a nice little thing to make sure that you're being aware of, is whenever those weapons are dispelled, picking them up is actually quite a bit of damage.
Yeah, so it looks like Echo just, I'm not sure if they just had the Warden's Seat or if they just nuked it down with the AoE pack, but they didn't seem to be utilizing that Warden at all, and they dealt with this trash pack quite a bit quicker compared to Perplexed. They're already fighting Oriferian now. They did also pull the Usurpers, and they're seeing them in this corner here. They had the Ring and Fear Sigil as well that they utilized to make sure everything is stacked, and now they're just going to be AoEing it down with the boss. This is very efficient. Looks like Perplex is doing the same thing.
I love what Echo has done, though, because Echo, they pulled the trash while they were running to the boss, and then they got right into the boss, and they used Ring of Frost to keep everything grouped up until they could get over to it. Whereas Perplexed actually stood behind this pillar and baited the mobs to get onto them first, and then pulled the boss onto those mobs. And that left like 5 or 10 seconds where they were just kind of standing there waiting for things to group up. Echo had no waiting time at all. They were just right into boss, no delay whatsoever, and you can see the boss is about 10% lower for Echo than it is for Perplexed. It's entering that first recharge phase now. It looks like it'll be now soaking those orbs. Oh no, a Shine goes down for Perplexed. That's their only instant cast battle res as well. They can get an engineering res on him. It looks like Ryson is going to be looking to do just that after maybe. Oh no, they got him up. Okay, it was on the other side.
So this is actually really bad for them because they had used Bloodlust and then Ashine died right afterwards. So now Ashine does not have the Bloodlust available, and Ashine is the one who has the most single target burst damage with that CA and the Convoke. So losing a little bit of damage here, which means that Bloodlust they committed might not actually be saving them as much time. As you can see, the difference in damage between Echo and Perplexed. Echo not committing that Bloodlust, and Perplexed did. So of course Perplexed slightly ahead in boss percentage now, but it maybe didn't make up that much time as they were hoping for with that Bloodlust being used on this fight. So really unfortunate death here on Ashine, losing that Bloodlust. Echo, on the other hand, they are saving theirs, which makes me want to think that they want to do that triple angel pull as we've talked about earlier, but Perplexed probably is not going to, considering that they don't have any of those offensive cooldowns available now. No Spear, no Bloodlust, and also no Celestial Alignment.
So much damage here coming out onto Echo's players as they pull the boss into the second half of the trash mobs from the other side. Perplexed, because they pulled that extra mob earlier, didn't need to do both halves. They only needed to pull one of the two sides to get to this 87% trash threshold. So they are now heading upstairs first. But like you said, Echo has that Bloodlust available. And like we always see in Spires of Ascension, it's going to come down to this Triple Angel. Whether or not these teams attempt it and then succeed at it is going to be the deciding point in this game. Perplex is going to get started here with just 2 of the 3, but Echo, with that Bloodlust available, I have a suspicion that they are going to try and deal with all 3 at the same time, and that will potentially make or break their run.
Yeah, so I don't think they're actually going to have Ashen, because I do believe Salia actually committed the Ashen Hollow on the 3rd boss, so it's not going to be ready for this, but they have all the damage dealers cooldowns, they have the PI, they have the Bloodlust, everything is being popped and gathered in that Kyrian Spear as well, so we'll see if they can do it. Now, all eyes on Echo. If they're going to be able to pull this off, then they're definitely going to be in the lead, because Perplexed has to do one extra Angel pull after they're done with those 2. But this pull is so difficult for Echo. They don't have any Enrage dispels. And you can see now dropping incredibly low. All of them are in raging range now. So they need to have all of the defensives that they have available to them, and they need to be able to kill them within only a couple of seconds of each other. They do have the Touch of Death from Fragments that can help out in case someone... And they did it! All of the Angels are dead. They are now going into the corner to bait the spawn of the Pride, and they're going to be using the Invis potions to just skip this Pride completely. And that was incredibly well executed by Echo.
That was insane. I mean, that is a pull that we have seen cause so many problems for so many top teams, to the point that Perplex decided it wasn't even worth trying it. And I can't blame them for that either. It's been something that has led to so many teams losing this map when they otherwise would have won. But against Echo, it is just not going to cut it, because Echo has successfully done all 3 of those at the same time. And like you said, that is a big benefit of the Windwalker Monk, the ability to equalize. Whichever of them is the highest health, you just have Touch of Death to put them over the finish line there on that very short window that you need to kill all 3 of them in. And Echo have done exactly that, and their reward for it is going to be a much, much faster pull of Devos here. That means that as long as they don't wipe to this boss, there's basically no amount of damage that Perplexed is going to be able to deal here to close this gap, I don't think.
Yeah, this is definitely Echo in the lead now, and they're the ones who can just easily kill off Devils here once they're... as long as they don't have any mistakes, right? There's still one thing that can wipe them, in my opinion, and that's if somebody accidentally pulls the Pride. Because the Pride is standing there in the corner, and if you do walk too close to it, it will be pulled, and there's no way they can fight the boss and the Pride at the same time, unless they maybe have all of their cooldowns available for it. But that's definitely going to be putting them very far behind, or have a full team wipe. So they have to be very careful to not step too far to that right side. And sometimes it looks like the model of the Pride is actually falling off in that intermission phase, but it's still physically there. So if you do walk too close, even if you don't see the Pride, you might still pull it and get encumbered with it. Might or might not have happened to me.
Yeah, I've seen that as well, where it looks like it's gotten blown off the platform, but really it's just in stealth, waiting to pounce when you walk too close. It is something they really do need to be aware of, and it means that whoever they send to collect those orbs on that side during the intermission phase has to get them quickly before they get blown too close to the edge. But they've done a great job of doing that so far. No surprise coming out from Echo that this has been such a clean boss fight for them at this point. This is orders of magnitude easier than the Triple Angel pull that they've already successfully taken care of. Although it's worth noting, they did use basically all their cooldowns on that pull, so they were doing this boss without too much left in the tank. However, at 30%, they will be entering that last intermission phase, and this is really the last opportunity for things to go wrong for Echo. Perplexed are close behind here, so if Echo does have a mistake, if Echo does pull that Pride, there might still be enough time for Perplexed to catch up here. But if that doesn't happen, Echo is in great position. You can see Zayla is going to use the Door of Shadows to yoink that farthest, most dangerous orb out of harm's way, and everybody has to be really careful here. Gingy getting pretty close to where that Pride is. Echo actually has it spawned on the opposite side to where teams usually do, and it looks like they may have failed to deposit one orb as well, so they're needing to collect another set here, and they have done so. They've gotten all the orbs they need. They're throwing in now 2 Devos. They've connected with the spear. Maybe they missed the first spear, actually. I don't know exactly how that happened, but that intermission lasted longer than it was supposed to. It is not going to be enough, though, for Perplexed. Perplexed, valiant effort here, a very fast time, but it is not going to stand up to Echo's flawless, zero-death Triple Angel run. I cannot believe what we have seen here out of Echo. This is such a commanding performance.
Yeah, that was so incredibly clean, and they're gonna be finishing off Devils here and winning this first game against Perplex. I mean, what a performance! I mean, it's so difficult for Perplex to win a game against Echo if they just have such fast and well-executed runs like this Spires that we've just seen. Wow, what a run by Echo.
That's really ridiculous. You might think you got like just such a clean run. You're going, very safe, very secure. Everything's going right for you. The spear pulls on both sides look good. And then Echo's just able to be so efficient and just that much faster. It's ironic. That's ridiculous. It's such a tough opponent.
Yeah, and I hope we have the damage scorecard here at the end here, because there's one particular thing that I really want to focus in on. We'll go against this, go up into this more in the replays later on, but the Windwalker Monk versus the Boomkin. I want to see the overall AoE damage. Yeah, 9.9k for the Windwalker versus just barely over 8k for the Boomkin. I think the Windwalker cooldowns were just so much better situated in this dungeon. If you actually paid attention to where the cooldowns were used over the course of the dungeon, Ashine sat on his CA for like probably overall a total of 4 minutes or so in the dungeon. He waited the first 2 minutes of the dungeon to use it on the first boss, and then he had to wait for it for very specific pulls, whereas Fragments could kind of just pop his 2 minutes on cooldown throughout the entire dungeon. So I think in addition to playing an incredibly clean game, Echo just had a better comp for the dungeon.